It hath no water, it hath no air. It is deep, unfathomable. It is black as the blackest night, and men wander helplessly about therein. In it a man may not live in quietness of heart. For the unfortunate entity on that level, it is indeed true that all the earth is full of darkness and cruel habitations. But it is darkness which radiates from within himself, and causes his existence to be passed in a perpetual night of evil and horror. A very real hell, though, like all other hells, entirely of a man's own creation. For the lowest subdivision of the astral plane, also this physical world of ours may be said to be the background, though what is seen is only a distorted and partial view of it, since all that is light and good and beautiful seems invisible. Most students find the investigation of this section an extremely unpleasant task, for there appears to be a sense of density and gross materiality about it which is indescribably loathsome to the liberated astral body, causing it the sense of pushing its way through some black, viscous fluid. The atmosphere of this place is gloomy, heavy, dreary, depressing to an inconceivable extent. It seems to reek with all the influences most inimical to good, as in truth it does, being caused by the persons whose evil passions have led them to this dreary place. The sickening atmosphere felt round such places comes largely from these earthbound astral entities, reeking with foul passions and unclean desires. For it must be remembered that the population, if that word may be allowed, of this lowest region consists of the very scum of humanity, murderers, ruffians, violent criminals of all types, drunkards, profligates, the vilest of mankind. None is here with consciousness awake to its surroundings, save those guilty of brutal crimes, or of deliberate persistent cruelty, or possessed by some vile appetite. The only persons who may be of a better general type, and yet for a while be held here, are suicides, men who have sought by self-murder to escape from the earthly penalties of crimes they had committed, and who have but worsened their position by the exchange. Not all suicides, be it understood, for self-murder is committed from many motives, but only such as are led up to by crime, and are then committed in order to avoid the consequences. All the desires and feelings at which we shudder find here the materials for their expression. It is, in fact, the lowest slum, with all the horrors veiled from physical sight, parading their naked hideousness. Bestial appetites shape the astral body into bestial forms, and repulsively human animal shapes are the appropriate clothing of brutalized human souls. Even in this world, a degraded and besotted ruffian molds his face into most repellent aspect, but people on earth do not generally recognize its ugliness, being astrally blind. Its repulsiveness is much increased by the fact that in the astral world, character expresses itself in form, and the man who is full of evil passions looks the whole of them. No man can be a hypocrite in the astral world, and cloak foul thoughts with the veil of virtuous seeming. Whatever a man is that he appears to be in outward form and semblance, radiant in beauty if his mind be noble, repulsive in hideousness if his nature be foul. It will readily be understood then how such teachers as the Buddha, to whose unerring vision all worlds lay open, should describe what was seen in these hells in vivid language of terrible imagery that seems incredible to modern readers only because people forget that, once escaped from the heavy and unplastic matter of the physical world, all souls appear in their proper likenesses and look just like what they are. executed murderers, furious with terror and passionate revengeful hatred, acting over again, as we have said, their crime and recreating mentally its terrible results, surround themselves with an atmosphere of savage thought forms, and attracted to anyone harboring revengeful and violent designs. Save for the gloomy surroundings and the loathsomeness of a man's associates, every man here is the immediate creator of his own miseries, unchanged except for the loss of the bodily veil. Men here show out their passions in all their native hideousness, their naked brutality, full of fierce, unsatiated appetites, seething with revenge, hatred, longings after physical indulgences which the loss of physical organs incapacitates them for enjoying. They roam, raging and ravening, through this gloomy region, crowding round all foul resorts on earth, round brothels and gin palaces, stimulating their occupants to deeds of shame and violence, seeking opportunity, ties to obsess them, and so to drive them into worse excesses. It is well once again to remember, ere quitting this dreary region, that we have no arbitrary punishments inflicted from outside, but only the inevitable working out of the causes set going by each person. During physical life, they yielded to the vilest impulses and drew into, built into, their astral bodies the materials which alone could vibrate in answer to those impulses. This self-built body becomes the prison house of the soul, and must fall into ruins ere the soul can escape from it. Sometimes a man may be seen constantly followed by his murdered victim, never to escape from his haunting presence, which hunts him with a dull persistency, try he ever so eagerly to escape. The murdered person, unless himself of a very base type, is wrapped in unconsciousness, and this very unconsciousness seems to add a new horror to its mechanical pursuit. As one man who had committed an assassination and had been executed for his crime was said by one of H.P. Blavatsky's teachers to be living through the scenes of the murder and the subsequent events over and over again, ever repeating his diabolical act and going through the terrors of his arrest and execution. As inevitably as a drunkard must live in his repulsive, soddened physical body here, so must he live in his equally repulsive astral body there. Further, we may cheer ourselves in contemplating these unhappy brothers of ours by remembering that their sufferings are but temporary, and are giving a much-needed lesson in the life of the soul. By the tremendous pressure of nature's disregarded laws, they are learning the existence of those laws, and the misery that accrues from ignoring them in life and conduct. The lesson they would not learn during earth life, whirled away on the torrent of lusts and desires, is pressed on them here, and will be pressed on them in their succeeding lives, until the evils are eradicated and the man has risen into a better life. Nature's lessons are sharp, but in the long run they are merciful, for they lead to the evolution of the soul and guide it to the winning of its immortality.